Good evening, Azeroth, and welcome to episode 119 of the World of Goldcraft. As usual, I'll be your host, the Lazy Goldmaker, and for the first time ever, I'm recording this show live. So that's going to be fun. I'm live on Twitch now, twitch.tv/lazygoldmaker, and I'll be talking about goldmaking for about 20 minutes. So I'll be recording the shows live on Thursdays at 20:00 CET going forward, and the episodes will then be available on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube the Friday following. I'll be taking some questions from chat eventually, but I'll be talking through some of my discussion points first. So, of course, the podcast is made available by my subs and patrons, so if you want to join us, then you can do so at patreon.com/thelazygoldmaker. So, let's dive right in. I have a couple of things I wanted to talk about today that I think are pretty interesting. The first one is a presentation from a security engineer at Blizzard that recently surfaced. It was from a tech conference for Splunk, which I'm not familiar with, but that's really beside the point. The point was that he talked about how they were using technology for the WoW economy and the unique challenges that it had, and it had some pretty cool data about the economy. So primarily the fact that there's 21 billion gold being traded in transactions on a daily basis. Which is a huge amount of gold, obviously. Presumably, this is going to be across all realms and both regions, with this gold being spread over about 10 million transactions per day, which includes trades, cash on demand through the mail system, and of course the auction house. And all of that means that we are looking at an average transaction size in WoW is about 2,000 gold, which is a little bit interesting. But what I also expect is that what am I looking for here? That the majority of the value is probably going to come from larger transactions, significantly larger than 2,000 gold, obviously. At least I know that for a fact for myself, that I make by far most of my gold from larger transaction sizes. So to expect that for most other people as well, and that just much more of the gold is going to come from larger transaction sizes. So interestingly, they also had some data about how players behave, and in Classic, 57% of transactions are through the trade interface. Whereas in retail WoW, you're looking at 76% of the trades coming from the auction house. So very large difference in player behavior between the two game versions, which is not surprising in and of itself, but considering how many alchemy consumables I moved on the auction house in Classic on a daily basis, I'm very surprised that there was an even higher volume of transactions going through trade chat. But it does highlight like a little bit of what the Classic spirit and what the Classic game is all about. It is a little bit more community social focused in many of the gameplay facets, both related to the world at large and many other aspects. So that's certainly part of it. And of course, retail WoW is a little less focused on that, and a little bit more focused on other parts of it. And apparently, I was muting myself on stream the entire time and just talking to myself. Well, at least I have the audio recording on my other PC, so you'll be able to listen to the entire thing once it's live. So that's a little bit awkward, at least for the people watching this live on Twitch. We can take the question from that Indian space now, since continuing this train of thought is going to be a little bit weird. So he's asking about the spreadsheet that I have out. I've made the spreadsheets for since Legion, and they use the TSM API to download data. But sadly, the TSM API has been down and it will be down for the foreseeable future. They've been seeing way too much traffic, essentially. So the TSM team and their servers have been seeing too much traffic because there are so many people doing gold making right now. I think they have absolute record numbers across all of their metrics, and they decided to disable the API. At this point, I'm starting to get a little bit scared that it might not come back. And we'll see if I think it's time to start looking for other sources of Auction.io's data that I can use in the spreadsheet. But until further notice, the spreadsheet is just not going to work. There's not going to be anything there in terms of like actually downloading data automatically. You could fill out all of the back underlying sheets, but that's a lot of work. I would not generally recommend that. I could, and trying to optimize so you could fill out everything would be way too much work. I don't think it's practical to update all of the 150 probably items at least. You would have to track to make sure the spreadsheet will actually give you profit data across multiple professions. If it's just one profession, then it's feasible. But at that point, there's no point in having like one comprehensive spreadsheet that covers everything. So yeah. Next up, I was going to talk about something that I posted on Twitter the other week. So there was this guy that sent me a mail through the in-game system. Let me just find it so I can remember exactly what he said. So he was a little bit mad because he felt that I was pulling the gold price of certain items down. So what he sent me an angry mail. Why are you pulling the gold cost on stuff down for no reason, man? You're ruining the market. Sincerely, you'll never be rich. And I posted this on Twitter, and I said that I love when people get mad about undercuts. I don't even know what item I posted too cheaply. Everything is posted at the profit for me, so I'm always happy if I get the sale. And I have never gotten as many answers as I have to that tweet, or at least in a long time. So this was definitely something that that struck a chord with people. Some people disagree with me, of course. I know that many people have the opinion that large undercuts do not have their time and place, that they are pointless, and you're just driving the price down for no reason at all. And of course, I disagree with that completely, and we'll go into why. But before that, I think the interesting thing that struck me about the mail is that I still don't know what item he was mad that I'd undercut on or had priced too low. I have no idea. And this highlights a very interesting difference in mindset. Obviously, I'm the lazy gold maker, so I try to avoid spending my mental energy on specific markets. I just let TSM do its thing. I spend my time making some well-functioning TSM settings, and then I just run post scans and go about my day. And I don't like to pay minute attention to specific markets or run cancel scans all day or anything like that. So I personally would never even be able to notice if a specific player in one of the markets I was in was consistently pricing stuff too low or whatever. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm on many different realms and active in many different markets, means I don't have to worry about that at all. If it's not profitable, then TSM just won't post my auctions, and I'll just go about my day and do something else. Or post some other items on another realm that probably are selling for a post for an auction. I'll just wait until I can sell that item for a profit. So I just have a more expansive view of gold making. If one market isn't working, then whatever. I have 10, 20, 30 more. I don't care. There's always gold to be made somewhere. And yeah. And this guy has the different view. Like in his view, if I'm cutting the price on whatever item this was, then I'm destroying his market. I might be driving the price down, of course. It might be profitable still because all of my settings ensure that I get a profit that I'm happy with. But this might not be a profit that other people are happy with. But I mean, this was on a very high pop realm. There's never going to be long-term significantly high profits in those cases. Like for crafting items, you should be happy with 20-30% profit. That's generally what the long-term average is for crafted items, unless there are very specific and high barriers to entry. And in most markets in Shadowlands, which we're not in BFA, that's just not the case. So yeah. Now there is a chance that I didn't even do large undercuts because I don't do large undercuts in too many markets. But I do a lot of base legendaries, and they most of the time they just get posted for my minimum price, and then material prices will change very slightly downwards, and my minimum price will go down, and then TSM will undercut myself at the new minimum price. And since I don't do cancel scans, my auctions just stay up there, and eventually I'll have a wall of 3 base legendaries posted at the minimum price. And if everyone above me has then cancel scanned down and sold, then it'll look like I'm undercutting heavily, even if I'm not. And that's actually happened a couple of times. And some people will just let me know, hey man, you realize you're the only one with Umberhide leggings, rank 3, you can go reset them if you want. And some people will send me angry in-game mails. I'm guessing the first option is a little bit more productive. Now, as I said initially, large undercuts have their place. And this is something many people disagree with me on. So that's an important point to make. This is a very common sentiment, is that there's no point in undercutting by 10%. The item sells so fast at the current price. And what these people are not considering is that the fact that how many sales you're getting depends on your repost rate, whether or not you're cancel scanning, how much time you spend on the auction house, if you have a second account or not, and many other factors. My sale rate at a specific price point might not be the same as yours. And since I try to avoid cancel scanning, then keeping the price high is really not in my best interest always. Because my experience is always that if the price is lower, the more people are going to buy. And you can prove this in like the extreme case, like eventually if you just undercut something, it'll be low enough that the resetters will consider buying your item to reset the market. And if you can still post it for a profit, then you're making gold. And this might be optimal for you, and it might not. But if you don't want to repost and cancel scan all the time, then driving the price down is a pretty effective strategy in terms of getting the sale. If the price is lower and you just fire and forget your auctions, you're significantly more likely to get the sale than if the price was at 10-20% higher. That doesn't mean that large undercuts are always the best option, but they can be in specific markets. And you have to always consider that it's not necessarily stupid. You also obviously have the auction house PvP angle with large undercuts. For instance, this happened of particular note this expansion with the base rank 1 legendaries. That people were just undercutting heavily. They were selling them for 50, 30, 20% of material cost. Selling them at a huge loss and they're still selling for a huge loss. And these people had rushed to a higher rank base legendary, and now they were selling the rank 1s really cheaply, not trying to recoup their money there, because they could keep other people out of the market. If other people go and look in the auction house and they see like, oh, Umberhide belt is selling for 20% of the material cost, well, I'm not going to do that. That's pointless. I'm not going to spend all my money and not make it back. Well, what that means is that the people who already passed rank 1 and are at rank 2, 3, and 4, they'll have less competition. So that's the other case where large undercuts make a lot of sense if you can force other people out of the market, or if you want to try to force other people out of the market, or in general just limit your competition. It worked, of course, particularly well with the base legendaries because you had to craft a bunch of them to level up your your recipe, so the capital requirement was just at a level that we've never really seen before. So yeah. Sanox Tail in chat says that rank 1s on Draenor is insane. Yeah, I can attest to that. I have actually sold a decent chunk of rank 1s for a profit. But yeah, I think rank 1s on pretty much every realm is just going to be insane in terms of being sold for a very significant loss. And that's how it's always going to be, because these items are they're not worth it. They're not worth it. So yeah, if you have any more questions, guys, I want to take some questions from chat. So now is your time. Just ask anything, and we'll get to them. Because that was really the end of my rant on large undercuts for this time around. Old content related. We have a question from Damien here. How to calculate the custom price for lightning steel ingots? If 10 ghost iron ore ingots is one lightning steel ingot, should I put the DB market price times 10 for one ingot? Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what you do with any kind of material. In fact, you can just set it to crafting, assuming you have the crafting recipe. Then TSM should know that one lightning steel ingot has a crafting cost of 10 ghost iron or 10 ghost iron bars. Because assuming when you open up your TSM window, it's going to scan for recipes and add them all to your database of the recipes you know. And then it's going to populate the crafting cost. So once you have that, then you'll have it in the crafting source. And at that point, it should be populated by just using the default price value or the default material value. But it is a soulbound item, so there is a chance that you may have to change it to just crafting. Since DB market will never be valid for lightning steel ingots, which is a soulbound item and thus can't be traded on the auction house ever. Well, but am I the new owner of GameStop? No, not yet actually. We'll talk about that when I go live on the stream later, because that's hilarious, but not really WoW related. So yeah, I think that's it for we have another question from that Indian Spice. I'm very new to gold making in general. Any suggestions on how to read the auction house, like what to look out for, etc.? So I don't really think you need to read the auction house that much in general. I don't really try to personally. What I do is I just focus on finding items that are useful to other players and preferably hard or annoying to farm or craft, because that means you can either craft them for a profit or flip them for a profit. So you're not really looking that much on the auction house. You're looking primarily to find items that are cool or powerful, and then finding ways to acquire them cheaply, usually by crafting. That's probably how I make most of my gold, at least now. Or items where there's large variations in supply and demand. So stuff like, let's say, rare battle pets, where someone might farm them for a week and then suddenly they're selling all of them and they're now very cheap on that realm, and then you can move them to another lower pop realm and sell them. So that's something you can look out for. And we'll have time we can get both of the questions. So Jack the Dipper has a question: what would you have done differently at the beginning of Shadowlands with the info you now know? Well, I mean, I'd probably just craft way more Dark Moon decks and not focus on base legendaries week 1, personally. But I'm not sure that's particularly useful. It's like, that's probably what I would have done. I focused on leveling to get my base legendaries crafters going, but I didn't have the capital to power level to rank 4. So I didn't really make the astronomical profits that some people did with rank 4s early on. And then we have one last question from Sanox Tail. Any suggestions on what to prepare or look out for with the next patch? Do you expect a new rank for Legos? Yeah, I expect a new rank for base legendaries. But it's not certain that they'll be adding them with the same system. They might not. Who knows? And that's sort of the big what if. If they use the same system and you have to add on another rank, then obviously materials that are needed, particularly if they add more than one rank, which I do expect they will, then all of the materials are going to see some kind of bump. But until then, they're going to trend downwards. Outside of that, I doubt we'll be getting any new consumables. I doubt we'll get any new consumables or materials in the first patch. So I don't think it's going to shake things up too much. It's just going to be a bump in demand as we get new difficult content. So that's what I expect for 9.1. What material do you think is best for farm and sell? Basic gold making. Probably callus hides right now. I think they're still selling for a lot of gold. But I'm not really much of a farmer, so I don't know the best routes for anything. Lithium ore could also work pretty well as herbalism. It all works. It's just about finding the right route that works whenever you're online and you have time to farm. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be what we have time for on the live show. Thank you so much for joining me live and listening in. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And with that, I wish you all a very profitable week. Goodbye, guys.